Israel this morning, we're looking at sciences versus teachers of humanities. Of course, we do acknowledge that there are unresolved issues when it comes to the enhancement that has been given out. Well, government has allocated 495 billion Ugandan shillings towards enhancement of salaries for scientists, including science teachers in schools. And of course, this is aimed at, allowing and enhancing teaching of sciences in schools. However, this selective approach has prompted chaos between the science teachers and the arts teachers. And of course, now they're saying this is not something we wanted, because negotiating from the Uganda Teachers Union, what they aimed at is looking at everyone really benefiting. But when the president came out to say, yes, we need a lot of scientists in this country, and right now we have to gear efforts towards making sure that happens, where we do that is making sure that at the grassroots, when teachers are teaching, they are motivated to go more for the sciences, to make sure that we have a generation in the future that is looking at more innovations when it comes to sciences. Now, I have Robert with me here, and obviously we're in a country where we won't be working with the strikes. However, I don't know, is this strike justified? Robert?
Mollen, first we must understand that these are all teachers.
Yes.
They take the same time, sometimes in school. At entry, when they all choose to go into education, none says, for me, I'm going to do sciences, maybe they specialize later. So whether justifiable, I'll look at it at two fronts. First, there's a collective bargaining agreement that was reached upon by teachers and, of course, other workers and government. And this was very easy. It stipulated how government was going to enhance salaries. And they'd even agreed that let's have portions. This particular year, you handle doctors. We know that field is done until the next 5 years. The other year, maybe you're handling teachers. The other year, maybe you're handling this. So it was a collective bargain agreement that raised hopes, that stipulated clearly who was going to get what and when they would have gotten that. Unfortunately, government did not live to that promise of what was agreed in the collective agreement, neither even the proportions. Now, we know times are hard. I know teachers in this country for a long time have been craving for enhancement of their salaries. What happens, why one feels that this could be justified, is the fact that many times government has said, we do not have that amount of money. Right now, times are not hard, easy. But when they looked at the allocations for their colleagues in science, it was almost times threefold of what they have been earning. If someone has been earning maybe 1.1, today they're earning 4. They're going to be earning 4 million. What does that mean? So these colleagues are saying, then for us, you're leaving us for another time when situations are favoring. So you find that they sit in the same classrooms, staff rooms, maybe sleep if there are staff quarters in the same quarters, who wake up at the same time, do same work, almost, and on the contrary, even science teachers are more privileged. You must accept there are not so many as their colleagues at arts. But an arts teacher, it is very rare to find an arts teacher teaching in 3 or 4 schools. But you find a science teacher. He teaches here, he teaches there, and there, and there. You know? We could say yes, logically, and being very honest, not many people opt for sciences because they're a bit harder. Even when you go to O level, you know, we choose at senior 3, when you're going senior 3, you find that how many opt for sciences? And there are those that even opt for them, and the school tells them, you're going to fail, concentrate on arts, you'll excel better. Even teaching sciences, I know it's not as the same as teaching arts. There's practical bit of it, they're a bit hard than that, but when you look at the levels, the percentages of increment, they ring a bell to these arts teachers and other humanities. So I would say, given the prevailing situation,
yes,
that's why they kickstarted their strike after the budget reading. Because now they knew that if we do not strike now, our hopes are gone forever. Our colleagues have benefited. Us, we've totally lost out. And yet we have a collective bargain agreement. And also these disparities
Yeah.
What are they going to cause in the profession?
Well, it's good you talk about that bargaining agreement that was for 2018. However, that is also where now there is need for balance, because the Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union, they are saying that this is coming at a very wrong time. According to them, these teachers should have brought in their views before the budget, but right now it's too late. You cannot start striking after the budget has been passed. And again, I was listening to Margaret Sheja, who is a workers' representative to Parliament, saying that you look at subjects like English, because there is no language like chemistry or biology. All these are taught in English, but these are people being left out, which is why we saw also the General Secretary for the Uganda Teachers Union, who is Philbert Baguma, saying that he's urging teachers actually. He said, stay at home until government finds a lasting solution. That is conflict right there, Robert, because right now we're looking at these two unions. Isn't this going to be a lot of conflict for it? And again, where are the teachers going to be between all that? Because this is also supposed, the Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union is supposed to be party to the Uganda Teachers Union.
Actually, all along we didn't have professional Uganda Science Professional Teachers Union. It wasn't there. How did it start? When these teachers were pushing for enhancement. And what happened? The Uganda National Teachers Union was pushing for salary enhancement for all. Now, when government said we are going to handle science teachers, Philbert Baguma, the General Secretary, continued emphasizing that no, if you're to increase salary, increase for all.
Yes.
Let enhancement be for all. This is going to be discriminatory, it's going to be selective, and we won't allow it as a union. So the science teachers said no. If this is our body speaking for us, and it's not push, and it wants us, our opportunity has come, and they are hindering our opportunity to go through, that's when they began being divided. And the science teachers formed their own association, now being headed by Vincent Elongo. So now why the situation has gone to the worst is that after the meeting with His Excellency, we were told, directed the Ministry of Finance to review the salary enhancement for science teachers. Now what does this mean? Either review and see how on that fraction for science teachers you can cater for the arts. What would that mean? That if, for example, you have about 3 billion for salary enhancement out of the 495 billion, maybe if the teachers have a portion of about, that is 3 billion. Now you're going to look at the portion for science teachers. How do you reduce to facilitate the arts teachers?
Yes.
Now, of course, that is causing fear. If I knew that every month I'm going to receive 4 million, and maybe the art teacher, because according to the new scale, a graduate science teacher will earn 4 million. So this man has already planned 4 million.
Yeah.
Now, if this review says, no, we are going to reduce, maybe we'll end up earning 2 million.
That is again more conflict coming through, because even the people that are looking into getting this money are not willing to have their money cut.
That's why they organized a press conference and were attacking UNATO, their mother organization. Now you see the conflict, that the science teachers are versing arts and humanities, and they were attacking them, saying, who are you speaking for? You know, for us, we've pushed our thing, now you want to cause problems. How can you call for review of an enhancement that has already been approved? But also looking at the challenge of this, Mollen, how is a head teacher getting 1.5? Going to supervise a science graduate who is getting 4 million? How is a district education officer who is getting 2 million going to supervise, you know, one getting 4 million? We might look at this like hierarchy, protocol, but my friend, it has issues. In terms of management, it has managemental challenges. You can't tell me that you have, let me use our profession, you have a presenter who is earning more than the MD.
Yeah. And right there, Robert,
you know?
because...
So that balance in administration is also there. But also the fact that now there is an environment that the science teacher is going to be looked at differently from the arts teacher. They sit in the same staff room, they're doing almost the same work, the same, you know, it's going to cause those challenges, a lot of chaos.
Well, right there, Robert, is when I'm also looking at the fact that there are some education experts that have come up to actually back the ongoing strikes. And they are saying that, you know, government selective approach to this salary enhancement is obviously going to cause chaos in civil service. And at the same time, yes, they also did bring out the issue of asking government to review this enhancement and probably even look into having a supplementary budget that is catering specifically for the arts and humanities. However, because now you look into the fact that if you now plan to cut a fraction of the sciences, the science teachers that you have already promised, it's also going to cause a little bit of chaos. But right there, Robert, isn't this going to be creating or affecting the teaching profession itself, the quality that has been there, that people look at, students are in universities looking forward to become teachers. But how is this really affecting the profession of being a teacher?
First, many people, if you are to look at those in school, would love to be science teachers now. Yeah. Because if to go by the 4 million, how many jobs in Uganda does one hand 4 million per month?
You don't want to study for something that you already know is not paid well. So because most of those are going to be going for government payroll. Exactly.
Technically, it is a given. I'm earning good salary. I want to tell you why many people admire doctors, lawyers, engineers. I want to tell you even when you go to these schools, many of people are not going there because it is by passion, but because they know these professions, you earn a lot of money. We grew up, you'd ask students, what do you want? A lawyer, a doctor. I am from the dignity and all that, and you know, but it is the money. Because a person knows when you're a doctor, you're going to get rich. Yeah. So people are going to go in this profession because they know how many jobs today. Graduate earning 4 million, how many jobs are those? Very few. That will mean this will boost the desire, the enrollment for science teachers in the country. However, for the profession, if this is not addressed, this is going to cause imbalances. This is going to cause administrative challenges. This is going to cause events in one way or the other in terms of service delivery in these schools. And for my biggest challenge is, it is good to increase salaries, enhance salaries, because there's money in circulation. When Mollen gets 4 million, Mollen will buy land. Maybe they can get a loan and buy land. That is good. Her children will go to good schools, because it's also been hurting most of these teachers teaching. Sometimes their children are seated home. They can't afford school fees. Yet they are teachers. It's demoralizing. You see, teaching is not only being in a classroom. It's not about coming with chalk, books. It is even how psychologically you're prepared. A teacher left home, 2 of his kids are down because of sickness. He can't afford treatment. The teacher's children, one is back for school fees because the teacher can't afford school fees. For you think is going to teach other people's children wholeheartedly. Some of the challenges we have in this country, in our education system, is because of poor pay of teachers. But that notwithstanding, teaching is not only about salary enhancement. Salary enhancement is a motivator. That Mollen, if they double your salary like here, like 3 times, my sister, it motivates you to work harder. But remember, if you don't have a cameraman, if you don't have cameras, if you don't have our brothers and sisters seated in the control room that do so much as we are seen as the face, but there are people who make sure we appear on the screen. The people make sure the transmission goes on very well. If they don't have the right gadgets, however good we will have researched, however good we will be dressed and smart, however good we may have those voices and whatever, the show will not be that. Today, our education system has challenges. That you're increasing salary of science teachers. The first equipment in a science laboratory in a secondary school is a Bunsen burner. Remember when we were being called even Bunsen burners?
Yeah.
But I want to tell you, there are many government schools today that don't have a Bunsen burner. People have never gone to a lab. Some of these labs, electricity was disconnected. Some of them, there is no water. Other schools, the science teacher borrows it from another school. Very careful, Temuchasa. Test tube. Make sure you don't. Come and see this apparatus. You get it? So, does this reflect into quality of education?
Exactly.
These huge monies times 3, what a teacher has been getting. If we made it, if we reduced it a little bit and ensured we have these facilities, you see, sciences are practical. Many bright children, I want to tell you, I've known children who move miles to go to a school that has a laboratory. In Kampala, a child is studying in a private school. They have all it takes. The lab, they have equipment, almost everyone has their own test tubes, almost everyone has their Bunsen burner, all these equipments are there.
Yeah.
In a village setting, in some of these schools, these equipment are not there. Now you're giving the teacher 4 million. Is he going to get on the 4 million to pick these apprentices, bring them and teach?
Or actually, Robert, that talking about laboratories, you bring in a good point, because some experts are actually arguing that they recognize that science teachers have to spend more time in the lab, which is why for them they are saying, let there be a same pay with salaries. However, have an extra allowance for science teachers because they do spend a lot of time in the laboratories. But at this point, we're looking into the fact that, however, all that is going on, it's affecting the learners already. Because by the time you look into going back to school, private schools are teaching. And this is the same curriculum, which means a lot of learners are going to be affected by this. But at this point, Robert, what can be done? There is need for action because we're not going to have this extended for the rest of the term. Obviously, we do know that at least students have reached midway the term. What can be done at this point? Should government be coming in right now to address it?
First, I would say we've seen supplementary budgets even presented to Parliament 2 weeks after the budget reading. We can have a supplementary budget. Reviewing the portion or the fraction that has been given to science teachers in the budget for salary enhancement, and in any way tamper with that, I think that would be suicidal. Because already you're seeing tempers are flaring. We are getting our money, you want our money to be chopped. At the end of the day, these teachers are teaching in the same schools. If one has calculated 4 million, getting a loan by the end of the year, I have a plot. Then you're told a plot of land. Then you're told now you're going to get half of what you're getting because you must add. And I don't think even that would solve the problem because there are many arts and humanity and other humanity teachers compared to the sciences. But also, a supplementary budget may serve as a solution to this. However, I'm also disturbed by the percentages in the increment. You know, when you go to what a doctor is earning, what a nurse is earning, when you go to, I think when we've had salary enhancement, we've either done it with excitement to suit the enhancement, or there is something that technical people do not look at very well. If you have, I'll give a simple example. Yesterday was Father's Day. If you're a father in a home and children are going back to school and you know all of them have requirements, instead of saying, let me give this one all they need and this one goes with an empty box, you look at the little you have and share equally or with less percentages. Salary enhancement, you know, these disparities are what are causing problems. That one person is getting maybe 2 million. The other is getting 10 million. This huge fraction, how would you arrive at it? You know, if you had said, if an arts teacher is getting 1 million, let a science teacher get 1.5. You know, still that would be a disparity, but it wouldn't be that very much in percentages. Go to the doctors. I'm shocked of it wherever we are seeing these enhancements. The percentage, the disparities are shocking. You multiply times 2, times 3 of what a person has been earning. Yet you know there are people in the same category. That is why you saw intern doctors, you saw nurses, you saw allied workers, and the nurses brought out clearly these disparities, unexplainable disparities. We must have a way over how we arrive at these increments and how we justify them. So to me, a supplementary budget could be a solution to this problem, specifically for teachers, Because I'm telling you, others are coming up, and we are not yet sure where it's going to end.
Yes.
But specifically for arts teachers, it's a supplementary. I don't think anything touching on what has already been enhanced for the science teachers is an advisable move. But also, we must ensure that we have, or government spearheads these other schemes that enable people, while at work, can start other alternatives. These teacher circles have to be injected in reasonable amounts of money and with good management by government, so that a teacher may not only depend on salary, you know, or they have a circle where they can get some money and pay later. Because one of the hardest things to get today are loans in this country. Government is borrowing from the same banks you are also borrowing from. You get it? You have domestic borrowing, meaning loans, their interest rates are going to go so high because there is high demand. So teachers find it hard to get these loans that could solve some of the problems quick and then get better. So these are some of the challenges. But for me, I believe let a supplementary budget come. I know members of parliament are willing to support this. It has an impact when you look at cost of administration, where it means that a huge chunk of your budget is now going to on recurrent expenditure, paying salary. But a big question, does this reflect on the quality of education in our country, both the science and arts and other humanities? When you increase my salary and I don't have what it takes to deliver, does that promote? If I'm motivated and on my side I do what I'm supposed to do, prepare a lesson plan, do this, then I'm going to a laboratory and drawing pictures of a Bunsen burner. Then exams reach the child, even fears, thinks fire is coming from all corners. Is this going to improve? When a child handles a test tube for the first time, you tell him, now shake, hold with this, fears to break it because they're not used to it. Does this transform into better knowledge, into better science? Are we going to get the scientists we are looking for simply because, or should we say first things first? I believe we are putting the horse, we are putting the cart before the horse. We must go back to those basics.
Well, Robert does insist on having both. If you are looking at enhancing salaries, obviously make sure the quality that is put across is also to a standard, because at the end of the day, we want quality education in this country, and of course this is where we're also talking about innovations. The world is moving towards another era of innovation, and obviously there is need to make sure that we have scientists for it. However, the way this is done should be one to actually complement everyone within the education sector, because we do know that most of these subjects actually complement each other, and obviously that is something to address. However, Robert, as we move to conclude, there is also a lot of strikes in this country. And we've mentioned right from the nurses to doctors, and before you know it, other people are going to come up, because we know that there's going to be enhancements and the financial year is already kicking off. So of course we could be expecting more of these. However, this has been a continued thing in this country. Are we going to move away from these strikes? Should this be the only action taken? Do people have to go to strikes for their issues to be addressed? Yes, the finance minister did talk about having dialogue, but at what extent? So we are worried about these ongoing strikes. Each time there is need for action, people have to go to take it to the streets or put down their tools for them to be given attention. But how is this system going for the country to make sure that we go away from the strike to dialogue and make sure everyone is catered for?
Government should come up with a salary review commission at this time. Government must understand things are no longer the same. No matter how much you try to act like an ostrich, you know what it does? It puts the head in the sand, leaves the rest of the body out, and thinks it's protected, only to be chewed by a leopard or something else. We should understand that some people have never had enhancement for the last 10, these professions, last 5 years. Nothing has increased with those people. Yet the cost of living is increasing day by day. So we must set up a salary review commission that is going to look at all sectors, and review salaries. Because what is going to happen when this strike and occur industrial action and you increase their salary, you're instigating others that, well, when you take this channel, you'll benefit. But we are losing hours, quality time being lost. Meet the president, meet so and so, meet so and so. We are losing lives. We are losing money. in our coffers for this industrial action. So let's come up with a well-fledged salary review commission to look into sector by sector. It may not be so much to increase. Or even if you just wake up and say every sector, government is going to increase 10%. And next financial year, if things go well, we shall increase another 10%. You know, collective, have a systematic approach and live according to your promises. Because most of these people have where they cling to. We were promised, we were promised. Government, live according to your promises, have a systematic, whole macro-sectoral approach, review of salaries and how best. But this issue that dialogue, no, people should know that if you're working in this ministry, if you're in this profession, we've got 20% salary. So if you've been earning this much, people can appreciate, people can understand.
Well,
and finally, let's prioritize our expenditure. Let's reduce corruption. Let's reduce corruption. Sometimes people hear of money is lost. Sometimes people hear of people giving, bonanzas become bonanzas. So this confuse the rest. And they think the situation is not as bad as government says it is. When money is lost and people just say we are sorry, then here some were given this amount of money. No, they never got it. Then another someone given. It confuses people when they hear how much when the Auditor General comes up with a report and says this year I've lost these trillions in corruption. People say, no, government here, you know.
Well, thank you very much, Robert. And of course, we have established right now that there needs to be something done about, the strikes in this country. And of course, government has to come in as the key body, make sure most of these are addressed. Well, that is it for Good Morning Uganda newsreel. But later on, we'll also be taking you through the papers to see what is happening across the country. And of course, later than that, we'll also be taking you through the weather updates. And later, we'll also be having a Good Morning Uganda agenda, together with the sports highlights also coming your way. But for now, let's take a look, let's take a short break and we'll be back after that.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have two projects. One is for construction of my house, two is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you for keeping it with us. It is now time we take you through some of the content in the dailies this morning. We have the Daily Monitor, the New Vision, and that is the Daily Nation for our brothers and sisters in Kenya. We give you a feel of what is happening now that they are more so nearing elections day by day. I have the Daily Monitor and Mollen has the New Vision. Let's kick it off with the New Vision this morning.
Well, the New Vision leads off with a big headline right there. Ministry to pay teachers directly, experts advise. And of course, teachers are slated for retirement to be verified before approval. Now that is detailed on page 4 of the New Vision for this morning. Also in the big picture for this morning, they're giving you a picture of Museveni tells arts teachers to call off industrial action. Well, as members of the Uganda National Teachers Union right there, arriving at State House, of course, for that dialogue. There is more details to that story, and of course, that is in the New Vision for today. Also in the New Vision, they give you a feel of fashion. Bride and Groom Expo is back. That is on page 14. Man threatens Bebeku with gun, and that story is also on page 12 of the New Vision. Well, there is also land ownership as government starts registering Bibanja owners. That is something that we have been looking forward to. Details are on page 5 of the New Vision for this morning. Now moving over to the second page, take full advantage of opportunities, Kasaija tips Ugandans. Of course, talking about Emilga right there, agriculture credit facility benefits, and as the budget comes at a difficult time, there is more coming in from Magdi Chugozi right there, Kasita, and a lot when it comes to petroleum companies. You can cover that. That is in the 2022-2023 budget. And today in history, that was 1971. Bunyoro Omukama Winnie dies at age 84. That is also right there. And also in 1994, Archbishop Tutu challenges West. That is right there for you. Get yourself a copy of the New Vision.
And looking at the Daily Monitor this morning, well, there's a big headline there. Student gambles future to loan sharks. The details are there. Then Uganda Airlines gets landing rights in China. Now Uganda Airlines has secured landing rights in China, Guangzhou International Airport located in southern China. The national carrier announced. Still, the Daily Monitor gives you more of government officials agree to refund 10 billion after Monta exposed. Well, they give you a number of series there talking about this money, and Uhuru calls East African leaders to Nairobi today. That is, President Uhuru Kenyatta has summoned East African community heads of state today in Nairobi to discuss deployment of regional forces in Democratic Republic of Congo. Still, the Daily Monitor gives you how law lecturers sue government over acting judges. And the Lizard, as usual, now says, yet the university builds for the future. Mark students gambles future to loan sharks. So the Lizard is saying, yes, the university does that for the future. Still looking at Uganda's NTD, risk remains high despite progress. Now we move to the second page of the Daily Monitor this morning, and inside government 17 billion plan for albinism. That money there, what is it going to do to address the plight of people born with albinism? Now, today in history, Professor Yusuf Lule announces resignation. It was on this date, the year 1979. Still, Westerners are evicted from Beirut, same date, but the year 1976. That is today in history. COVID-19, they give an update of the cases of COVID-19, the death toll so far, the recoveries and details there. So the Daily Monitor gives you more regarding COVID-19. And of course, a reminder there telling you, hey, we still have the disease with us. Be mindful. Yes.
Well, we'll move over to the sports section. And of course, how is American football played? Well, you know that the American way is also looking into how to go on the playground. They give you pictures right there of how this is played. Of course, giving you Philadelphia's Eagles defensive coach Jeremiah also standing right there with the players and you know the tactics of how to play this. Obviously, it's still something new on the scene to have Ugandan coaches and players on how to develop the American football in Uganda, something that is also still looked forward at. But inside, they are looking at karate. Did you know that karate is for both men, women, and youngsters? Karate lying in a deep canyon, as it is still a nightmare for Uganda to feature in any competition, both locally and internationally. And of course, the second page of the New Vision Sports gives you a lot of details on how this is played, what is being looked at, how many people so far are involved in the karate. Of course, they also give you the joy and pain of coaching your own kids. Is it good for a sports coach to train his or her own child? Details in the New Vision Sport for this morning.
And in the Daily Monitor Sports this morning, Uganda looks for quick response. Over what? Well, details there. Then Makonzi reassures Vipers after sweeping league awards. Well, they give you some of them. That Cesar Makonzi shows player of the season, top goal scorer of the season, most assist of the season, forward of the season, player of the season, and many among those. Then world streaming, FINA tackles transgender issues. Transgender athletes banned from competing in the women's elite race if they have gone through any part of the process of male puberty. Now, that is an issue there. Then we also see more regarding games that were played, and of course the rankings. Where do you stand, where countries are standing? The sports in the Monitor gives you more of that. But don't also forget that our very own Ruben Mpima will be here to give you all the sports updates and those catchy, interesting conversations in the world of sports. Ruben has it all for you.
We look at making all the Titanic looks into decision 2022. A lot is going on over there, and obviously we do know there's a lot of controversy as we look at Raila versus every other person who is coming on to say, well, this election could be one of the huge ones. But also looking more into the Daily Monitor as a city married by violence, as Uhuru and Lyra Wow are Krino faithful. Well, that is also much more coming there as you look into the Larry. Obviously, a lot going through with the election, and that is still much more in the Daily Nation for this morning. Get yourself to the Daily Nation. Obviously, also online, you can obviously get into more of those stories continuing over there. Well, this morning we also want to take you through what is happening on the roads. Obviously, if you're heading into the city, it's a Monday. You know, usually most roads will be having a lot of traffic coming through. And of course, you want to avoid the traffic and get to your office quite early if you did not come earlier. And obviously, a lot of roads that are leading into the city will be pumped up with traffic. But right now, we also want to look more into the Kampala Northern Bypass, which seems to be quite okay. Now, issues come in as you move off the Northern Bypass into the city. That is where we start to get into traffic. Well, leading off from the Kampala northern bypass. It looks like it's right a clear route, and of course that is all the way from Nyonyintono roundabout. We're looking into Weasel roundabout, which is also seems to be quite clear for this morning, and heading over towards the central city, which is also looking like something to look out for. Now over there we also look mostly over the Masanafu roundabout as you're heading into town. You're going to concentrate on that route for Sentema Road, obviously that is also looking into more traffic. Where you see the red lines, that is a lot of traffic right there for you, and of course that is as you head into town, you look at more traffic coming through across that road. The orange lines also indicative of more traffic that is building up across the area. That is if you're using the Sentema route from all the way northern bypass towards central city, and that is where you have a little bit of traffic. But however, if you can branch it off over to that is Lugara, where you have the Masiro Road. That is one road to look out for, because there is quite a little bit of traffic as well. But as you head over to Masiro Road, the traffic starts to loosen up a little bit. We're seeing mostly green lines over there, meaning that you can avoid a little bit of traffic. But also, if you are using Hoima Road, usually that is one road that is also having a little bit of traffic, especially as you're heading towards the Nyonyintono roundabout right there. There is a little bit of traffic there, and of course, when you see the orange-red lines right there, it is indicative that there is a lot of traffic that is building up. However, just after the roundabout, as you head towards the city, then also that is looking like a road that clears up. Of course, as you head into Kasubi right there, there is a little bit of traffic. Obviously, there are traffic lights there, so that could explain that short distance in traffic as the lights, take over. But again, after the traffic lights, it seems to be quite a clear route as you head more into the city. Now, looking at, moving further into town, it looks like it's quite clear. But also one other route to look out for is the Sao Paulo Kagwa Road, that is also from the northern bypass towards the city. Now those coming into town, there is a little bit of traffic. However, green lights for those who are heading from town over going to Bombo Road. It seems to be quite clear with the green lines. But if you have an alternative to avoid Sao Paulo Kagwa Road as you're heading into town, I would advise that you take that, because that seems to be having a lot of traffic all the way towards Makere right there, still with traffic. Now, not forget that that connects to the Wandegea lights right there, so that brings in a little bit of more light, more traffic right there. That is something that you might want to avoid. So if you have an alternative, you could easily take that route. But also, if you look at Makere Hill Road, that is also coming into town, that also goes in with a lot of traffic. Red lines, orange lines, showing that there is a lot of traffic for those people coming into town. But if you're headed away from town, that is looking into more clearance with regard to traffic. So that could be a clear route for you if you are heading out of town. But for those coming into town, that seems to be one road that is also having a lot of traffic. But moving over, you look at the next roundabout as you're coming from Kalere towards town. That is also looking like quite clear, actually, until you get to the Mulago roundabout. That will, of course, connect you to Useful Railroad, which looks like it's a bit clear for this morning, and that is one that you could easily look out for as you head into town. But more of the green lights actually along the Useful Railroad, which is one that you could easily look out for, and avoid that traffic across other roundabouts, especially for the routes coming from the northern bypass towards the city center. Well, we do know that also traffic comes in with the weather updates, depending on what is happening across the country. We want to take a look into our satellites that are overlooking Uganda for this morning, and looks like most areas are actually starting off with quite some clear weather. We're looking into intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, more sunshine across northern Uganda. Look at the Karamoja region, areas of Tororo, Moroto, starting off with quite clear skies where you see the grey colors. That is indicative of sunny weather, and of course that is also going across Padel, Gulu, and areas of Arua having a little bit of clouds that are starting to develop, and we do expect most of those to actually bring in a bit of rains as the morning progresses. Now, if you head into the central part of the country, we do have those clouds that are developing where you see the white colors. That is indicative of cloudy weather, and of course most of those will be developing into a little bit of rains later as the morning progresses. Now, looking at Lake Victoria, we do have that deep system in colors of red, orange to blue. That is indicative of rainy weather. We already have rains across the islands of Lake Victoria that is extending towards Kalangala right now, having spills of those rains. And that system seems to be headed westwards. And of course, that will be bringing rains towards the western part of Lake Victoria, including parts of Masaka. We look at Zimbabwe, Rengo. We could be looking at a rainy morning for you right there, but also that is the same system that could also be joining with most of the clouds that are starting to develop across southwestern Uganda, where we're looking at areas of Mbarara, we're looking at areas of Mubende, Fort Poto, Kasese, even Rubirizi. We could be looking at rainy weather for this morning as most of those systems start to develop. We do have those clouds moving in, and obviously those are the ones that will be also helping with the development of rainy weather as the day progresses. But looking out for where this system is headed, it seems like most of Kampala right now is having mostly sunny weather. We do expect intervals of cloudy conditions later as the day goes on, but also in the forecast we do know that we might be looking at rains later as the day continues. Now looking over across Mount Elgon Highlands, which is one area that usually develops rainy weather as we head into the afternoon. Now this morning it looks like areas of Mbale, that is Palisa as well. All the way as you head towards Kamuli, Jinja and Tororo, we are looking at mostly cloudy weather for this morning, but we will be moving into development of clouds. And already as we speak, actually, those clouds are starting to drop, and that is the one system that could be bringing us rainy weather later as the day progresses. But we'll be looking more into that. And obviously, for this time of the year, we could be looking more into having rainy weather develop across the northern sector. However, we do know that most of the southern sector does get rains, especially from the local effects. You're taking the advantage of Lake Victoria, you're taking advantage of Mount Elgon, of course, which also enhances wet weather across areas within the Mount Elgon Highland right there. When you think about areas of Mbale, Butaleja right there, and also not to mention that temperatures are usually cooler in the mornings for most of these areas. But for this time of the year, we might be looking at warmer weather for the southern sector of the country. Of course, that takes in the Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have areas of Kampala, we have Entebbe, we have Jinja, and that pushes across to western Uganda as well. However, also western Uganda does get an advantage of the Congo air mass, which usually advencts westwards, and that brings in a little bit of rains right there. So which is what keeps rains within those regions, even when we're looking at quite a drier season. However, we do expect more rains to come through. That is for northern Uganda. Only that for now we do have some pressure systems that are affecting most of these influences for our wet weather. But we do know that at least northern Uganda right now, they are getting a little bit of rains, and those will be sustained until we look at a second major rainy season across the country. That will be starting in September. But when you look into that period before we get to September, that is usually dominated by dry weather that is coming through, especially across the southern part of the country. But northern Uganda will still be continuing with most of those rainy conditions. Well, for now, we're looking at quite a chilly morning across most areas within the country, except for the rains within the islands of Lake Victoria and most of the areas that I've mentioned that will be having a little bit of rains. It looks like it's quite a pleasant morning for you. Now, I'll leave you at that. Later on, we'll be having the Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up. And of course, not forgetting that we are streaming live on YouTube, that is UBC Television Uganda, so you can still catch most of this. Later than that, we'll be having sports updates coming in from Ruben. And also much later than that, we'll be having Good Morning Uganda Extra. Well, my name is Kenyena. I want to leave you at that and wish you a wonderful morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Simply deposit 20K or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have two projects. One is for construction of my house. Two is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This is a weasel. These wild animals are small and tricky.
Wow, Anna. Looks like you could use some help. Let me carry that.
Thanks, Jonathan. I can always count on you. Jessica, not so much.
She weaseled out of helping you again, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She's a weasel.
To weasel out of something means to successfully avoid doing something in a dishonest or clever way. This phrasal verb has a mostly negative meaning. You can also call someone a weasel, like Anna did. Some animals just have a bad reputation. And that's English in a Minute.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello, this is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Congratulations. Oh, one good day.
Good day? But I haven't entered any competition.
Owadechi, since you use your phone every day, we have randomly selected you as one of our loyal customers, and you have won a brand new pickup.
Hey, so how do I get this pickup?
The pickup is in Namave. All we have to do is quickly bring it to you. You know, we are delivering many of them. So, just send us 100K for fuel via mobile money, and we'll bring it to you.
But Chief, I'm in no hurry to receive it. Namambe is just here. Keep it at your warehouse, give me directions, and I will take time to pick it up.
Vow nawe. If you don't have money, just say.
Tonfera. Never send money to strangers. Winners of competitions are contacted through official channels and are never asked to pay for anything. Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tonfera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by UCC, MTN, Airtel, Bank of Uganda, and NPSP Association.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Princess! Is there a problem? Honey, relax. There'll be no more worries about SMSs, phone calls, data, because Daddy has got an Airtel smart plan. There is even Airtel TV. It means no worries.
Enjoy life worry-free with Airtel Smart Plans. Shareable among 5 people. Use every day and pay.
Hey, it's time to play. Let's go! Be glad you came because you love to share. Let's have some fun. What should we try next? Everyone, because we love to learn together, making new friends forever. Sesame Street friends. What the book packages? Great entertainment, sports, telenovela, the movies. There is something for everyone.
best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Ugandan shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono, and this is Good Morning Uganda, your morning show on UBC TV from 6:30 till the hour of 9. We are always here to ensure we update you, we equip you with information you need to know as you go about business throughout the day. Now, welcome to our Good Morning Uganda agenda, where we discuss issues of national concern, and usually we have a guest with us in studios with whom we discuss a number of issues. This morning, we are handling a very important topic. This is where most of the times we've had parliamentary committees questioning everything where it involved government procuring runs to this docket at the end of the day. And this is the public procurement and disposal of public assets. And this is a body that we know as PPDA, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority. And joining me on set this morning is the Executive Director of PPDA, Benson Tulame, with whom we are going to be discussing more regarding open contracting. Now, many people have heard of this. Many people want to benefit. Many people want to know, what does really open contracting mean? How do we get to understand it? What are the benefits therein? And allow me to welcome him this morning. Welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you, Robert.
Now, first, to give shape to the direction of this show, when you talk about PPDA, may know yes, an act of parliament, but what do you do? Others only hear of you when they are questioning people in parliament. Did you follow the PPDA Act? Did you follow the procedures? What went wrong? Where was this authority? So let's begin by giving shape into understanding what really you do. What is your mandate?
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, viewers. This morning we are going to talk about public procurement, and maybe before I answer what is PPDA, allow me first indicate what is public procurement, so that we understand that before 2003, procurement was centralized. We had the Central Tender Board, which was concerned with procuring for all government entities. And in 2003, the Act of Parliament now decentralized public procurement, meaning that all procurements are handled by entities. And entities, we are talking about central government entities, we are talking about parastatals, we are talking about local government, higher local government entities, that those are district local governments and municipal local governments. Recently, of course, we have many cities, including KCCA. So when we talk about decentralized public procurement, it means that these government agencies procure on by themselves. They identify their requirements, their procurement requirements, they budget for them, they call for bids, they receive bids, and evaluate bids, award contracts, and also execute contracts and pay contractors. So generally, the whole cycle, procurement cycle, is handled by the procuring and disposing entities or government agencies. What then the role of PPD? What is the mandate of PPD, Robert, as you correctly asked, is that we are an oversight agency to ensure that these processes, right from identification of needs, planning, and up to the end, they are done in a transparent, efficient, competitive, non-discriminatory, and delivers value for money. So as government agencies do those procurements, then we have to ensure that the whole process is transparent and fair to all who may want to participate in these government procurements. And the mandate, again, is to ensure that we build capacity to both providers and procuring entities or officials so that they understand what the Act of 2003, the PPD Act, provides, and they don't breach it. We also do what we call compliance monitoring to ensure that all these who are procuring are doing it in that manner of following the PPD law. And again, we harmonize standards. If they are, we set standards. For example, all government entities, if we are procuring works, we are talking about roads, we are talking about buildings, we are talking about waterworks, we have standard bidding documents. And you just customize some areas of your need, evaluation, and contract terms. But the rest of that, of the instructions to bidders, are standard for all government entities, so that you don't start creating your own standards. So that is our role, again, setting standards and also harmonizing rules and regulations. Recently, there was an act of parliament that the PPD was amended, actually. We talk about 2003, but in 2021, June 2nd, actually, the president set it to the act, so it has been amended. And that amendment process, working with Minister of Finance, working with Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, that is what we do, so that if there are challenges in the procurement processes, then we can resolve them even if it needs amending the Act. So that's what we do. And Robert, as you know, that the 60% of government budget that recently was read will be spent through public procurement, through works, services, and supplies. When you see, like these machines, this equipment, they were done through public procurement because UBC is a government agency, so they also follow the PPD Act. If you see consultant services, if you see like you have cleaners here, they had also to use PPD. If you are procuring roadworks, you are building roads like UNRA, KCCA, they have to use PPDA. Go through the same. Yeah.
So now Ugandans rightly know what PPDA does. Now let's go to open, that is contracting.
Yes.
This word has been around for some time. And many of the questions sometimes I hear Kosase asking, now, was this through open contracting? Help us understand what is open contracting?
Actually, maybe let me first differentiate what at times the public talks about in terms of open competitive bidding. Open competitive bidding is different from open contracting. Open competitive bidding is where you avail the opportunity through advertising, open advertising, and everybody that qualifies will participate. And the law, that's a method of procurement, open competitive bidding. And we have what we call open international competitive bidding and open domestic competitive bidding. When we say open international competitive bidding, it means you are going to advertise internationally. Every party, whoever qualifies, can participate. But when we talk about open contracting, we are mainly talking about publication and disclosure of government contracts to the public. You publish them and disclose them. You disclose the information on government contracts. That is open contracting. And this mainly is for purposes of ensuring transparency and accountability to the citizens of the Uganda. Because when we talk about that budget I talked about, who is paying this money? The citizens of Uganda. Even where government borrows money for public procurement, for public works and goods and services, the citizens are going to pay. So we are saying disclose and publish this information on the contracts that are government are doing.
Edie, let's understand, when we refer to the public, it may seem very obvious, but then how does the public get to access this information? You've talked about the field of infrastructure, you know? How do people get to know that this road, you know, was contracted, it is by so and so, and get these details? How do an ordinary Ugandan who is going to move on this road, who is inconvenienced by the construction process, get to understand? Because the aim is promote accountability, I'm very sure.
Yes.
Also this and transparency, like you rightly said. But an ordinary Ugandan, how do they access this information?
Now, in the first place, maybe let me talk about the process of disclosure. It starts from planning. Every entity of government, every year, like now we are starting financial year in July, they have procurement plans. And this is a legal requirement. They have to come up with procurement plans with their budgets. This government entity, Koboko, district local government, they have a procurement plan. These procurement plans are submitted to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and PPDA. They are also published. We publish these procurement plans on the PPDA website. That is the first disclosure. So that if you are a bidder or a potential bidder who wants to benefit and participate in government contracts, then you plan. You know that this entity is going to have so many works. They are going to procure laboratory equipment. They are going to procure medicines. They are going to procure uniforms. So that if you are in that area, you plan accordingly. So the first disclosure is at planning. The second disclosure is, and I have said that those procurement plans are published on the PPD website. The second disclosure is at the actual implementation of the plan. Because if it requires open competitive bidding, then they have to advertise for those opportunities. So when they advertise, they're actually disclosing that this is what is available and you can participate. And again, the adverts are also published on the website. Currently, they are advertised even in the papers. If it is open competitive bidding, you have seen entities say we are pre-qualifying for providers. When they are pre-qualifying, that means they are trying to generate this. They generate a list that now that they will be using over that period. It can be 1 year list, it can be 3 year list, over that period, where they are not going to advertise, where they are going to use selective bidding or restricted bidding or request for quotation. When they are using those methods, then they say, Benson, Robert, and Matthew, we have shortlisted you from this list, which we qualified at the beginning of the financial year, and then compete amongst those three. And the minimum receipt of bids is 3. Now, that is another point of disclosure. So that they say we have this area, these these procurements, and they are small values. So since they are small values, we are not going to use open bidding. We'll use selective bidding. The other, when they, after the data revert, then they evaluate. Actually, even when those who submit bids, whether it is open bidding or restricted bidding, those who submit bids are also displayed. That is another point of disclosure. When we advertised, these submitted their bids. And from the beginning, you are competing with so and so, even under open competitive bidding. Now they go through submission of bids and evaluation. At evaluation, of course, there must be a winner. So this winner has also to be published.
Now you talk about published. Is it in the Gazette?
No.
Papers, on your website? I mean, where is this publication done?
The publication, before, even now, actually, we say display on your notice board.
Okay.
It is a legal requirement, actually. Display on your notice board who has won this contract. But now going IT, they have also to put on online. Even those who have participated. Maybe I'll talk about the new developments of like automation of the process now. The current scenario I'm giving is the manual process, but we are going automation. That manual eventually is going to be being automated, and we have piloted in some entities. Now, when you display on the notice board, first of all, you say this is the winner. His contract price is so much, and these have been unsuccessful, and the reasons for being unsuccessful. And if you are not satisfied with the reasons that has been displayed, then that is when actually people start now coming to people and say, no, these were unfair. They are saying I didn't have experience, but the experience I gave was as per the requirement. So if something like that comes in, then we come in as regulators, say, no, we review and say, the bidding requirement were this, because you remember you have issued a bidding document and set your exam, your evaluation criteria. You say someone must have done similar works of similar nature and complexity in the last 3 years. What's this? You must have personnel. You must have equipment if they are like work, road works or works. You must be eligible, meaning that you are registered, you are paying taxes. If you have staff, you are paying NSS, NSSF. Those are eligibility requirements. Because someone can say, I'm eligible and I'm registered. We have seen cases where even someone fails or forgets to put a registration certificate. Then you say, but you didn't. And if you didn't, the entity can get clarification and say, you say you are registered, but where is your certificate? Then they get it. Those eligibility requirements these days you can submit even after they have closed. So that is very important at award, because that is where at times complaints and disagreements come. And when you are not transparent at that point, then
issues will arise.
Yes, issues will arise. And also people lose confidence in your system. We have seen cases where actually said, this one I will not participate because this entity is not transparent. And you get low bidder submissions. But after that disclosure, then it comes to the contract. And that is where I come in.
That's where I have my interest most.
Is. Now you have
because this is a bit of technical, those interested and all that.
Yes. You have contracted and someone is executing the contract. If you have seen, actually it's not even on government contracts. If the buildings, you have seen, okay, I can give you an example of building recently where we have completed our building. And you will see, first of all, a signpost there. The contractor is so and so, the supervising consultant is this. That is the first disclosure. And this is, if you go in rural areas or up country, that's what we are looking for. You, a citizen, you should be able to know the contract is so and so. Is he the one on site? Is he the one doing the work? If you trace back to the other display on the notice board, is he the one actually that was displayed? Or there is a different contract on site? But of course, when you come to our, also we have what we call government procurement portal, which is accessible. This government procurement portal, which is housed at PPDA, it has all that information. All awarded contracts by government, you can access them on a government procurement.
But just click over button.
Click over button. And here you get more information with the contractor, because now you want to compare. If you want to compare, first of all, you didn't see the one who was displayed on the notice board. Now you say, on portal, is he the one on site? Yes. What is the contract value? That information is also there.
But some of these, they don't put the contract value. You'll find the site, who is managing and all that, duration and value.
That one, you will get it on the portal.
Okay.
Maybe we can improve, even they put it on the notice board. We could improve
because,
that area.
Edie, I must accept there has been an improvement in these signposts. I must say government has done a lot to ensure that. But what is most important for the people is to know the duration, which you rarely find, even if you drive around of these projects. And people don't know whether to demand that if you're supposed to be here for 3 years, it is coming to 5 years. Why are you still not doing, or even to look at the space of which the work is running, the time frame. Then the second has always been the value. You know, one would say maybe big figures can scare the locals. You know, when they see 15 billion local to construction, they may not know the technicalities and they may think a lot of money has been put there. Yet there are other technicalities concerned and all that. So I think that is an area of improvement.
Yes, I agree with you, but it's an area of improvement, especially in terms of the public view on such notice board. But that information is still, if it is required, it can be accessed. And it is very, very important, because that is where we have serious challenges. You find there are cost overruns. The project was supposed to use maybe $1 billion. They have spent 1.5 billion. There are time overruns, as you have said. A project is supposed to take 1 year. It has taken so long. So that is, your point is very, very important. And that's an area of improvement. But in terms of the government procurement portal, which is IT-based, it is. And currently, we have partnered with civil society organizations, different areas in Uganda, because those were, we can't be everywhere.
True.
So that even they are able to access our GPP.
But partnering with civil society organizations, that was said, what is your monitoring system to comply, to people complying on these entities, these agencies complying? Because we know everything in government, sometimes I say a lot of money is allocated to sectors. But always look at what percentage goes to monitoring and enforcing compliance to some of these. Do you have a system within PPDA?
The monitoring, even in Ministry of Finance, actually, they have a budget monitoring unit, a whole budget monitoring unit. For them, their interest is how is budget being used. They have given budget to Chisoro District Local Government, to Jinja Referral Hospital. So they have to go and see how the budget has been consumed, utilized. But in terms of contract monitoring, actually we have put a system. It's also an IT system. We worked with GIZ, that's the German company, together with CSOs. Currently we signed MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with 12 civil society organizations spread all over the country, in Rwenzori, in Kabale, in Nembe, in Mbale, all over the country. And the GIZ actually provided them with even smartphones, just smartphones, and that system was put on that, so that we can get timely feedback from these CSOs, because legally they may not have mandate to enforce compliance. But now the partnership is that on a click of a button, they say this site has been abandoned. 3 weeks now, the contractors are not on site. This building, there is show the work on this contract. Then they can even take snapshots, exchange with our monitoring team at PPDA, then we have timely response. And we have secured a number of contracts where contractors are dildaling. They are paid, maybe they have another contract somewhere, they say this money is shifted to go and do the other contract. They keep playing like that. Then we move in. And where we have moved in, because we also have a very strong stick of saying if we have failed to execute your contract obligations, then the PPDA will blacklist you, can suspend you from not participating in government contracts for a period. And that scares them, because that is, I mean, they are daily bread. So if you are suspended for, say, 3 years, even after those 3 years, life is not the same. People start fearing, even private sector we have had where NGOs in the country write to us and say this company, confirm that this company is not blacklisted. So the moment we publish you on our website that you are suspended, then life has changed.
Well, Edie, you've talked about civil society organizations. I believe they're doing a tremendous job in terms of holding organizations accountable. But I want to look at the ordinary man. How empowered are they? How sensitized are they and knowledgeable to cause accountability? Because at the end of the day, they're the beneficiaries. Yes. NGOs do a great work, but they are doing their job. He may not even be staying in that community at all, but this ordinary Ugandan, have you, what has been your assessment in terms of calling for the accountability? Because it's all done in favor of them.
You see, and this is what should come, or what we should inculcate in the minds of Ugandans. Knowing that government projects are theirs.
Many don't view it that way.
That is a trouble. You find a construction in a school, they are constructing a borehole or water source. I say that is a government project. But who is government? Who is government in the first place?
You're constructing a road and someone is buying the culverts and no one is bothered. Your government.
Yeah, your government. But the government, who is using that road? Who is going to drink this water? Who is going to access this access road? It is you. At times, like especially like access roads that go into these villages where they are going to use to market their products, and you see a government official is abandoning, is not doing the right things, and they say, your government. No! Citizens should know that the money that is used on government projects is their money. When you consume this salt or soap or sugar, you are paying taxes. And these taxes must get back to deliver service, the service that you can still use to boost your income. And I think that's where we must now focus. Like now at PPDA, now we are moving out also to sensitize the public on the parish development model. That is a talk now. But how do we age in? How do we come in? So that whatever small projects that are done at the lowest level, what is the level of participation of the citizens? So that is very, very crucial that we continue sensitizing, and this is what we are doing even now. We have programs up country, on radio, wherever my team of capacity building goes to different regions, they have to talk about citizens' involvement in contract monitoring. We have sensitized politicians, we have sensitized RDCs, and we are getting actually serious feedback. Some other DCs, we have another DC in Masindi. Recently, he raised serious issues, and we are handling them. Projects that have been abandoned, and when we come in, even the technical team now wake up and say, we need to do our regular supervision, the engineers and all the technical team, and you see projects moving.
Well, one would want to know, what are the benefits of this? Yes, projects are moving in, but for the public, for the leaders, for the people also, the contractors, who may see this, that maybe public PPDA may make it a requirement, but doesn't favor them. Sometimes people may not even understand what acts in their advantage.
Now, if we start with contractors, we have, within the law, focused on how, especially the local contractors, should benefit within the legal framework. And what we have as an emerging development, we have provided reservation, reserving specific contracts to our local contractors, meaning that you know, the local contractors, the benefits are many. They employ our people here.
Though most of the times they have come out and said they are sidelined.
No, we have reserved. We have already put reservations. Of course, we are looking at, I wouldn't say even they are low values, because if you talk about 45 billion of roadworks as reserved contracts for local contractors, it's a lot, 45 billion. And for the other works, buildings and waterworks, 10 billion is a lot. What that means that the only competition is among the local contractors. So that you develop the local industry, the local domestic industry, so that tomorrow they are able to compete with the foreigners. But also where a foreigner gets a contract here in Uganda, they compete and get a contract. They must demonstrate that 30% of the value of that contract has gone back to...
Is that going to subcontracting?
A subcontracting arrangement. And that is where we need to focus as PPDA in terms of enforcing again compliance. Because I need to come to the ground. Our team has to work with a contracting agency and say, yes, at the bidding, you say you are going to contract Robert, who is a Ugandan, or a resident provider for that matter. But is he the one doing the work? Or you have put a jacket, these reflectors, say Robert and Sons company, when actually inside it is a different person. Because we have had those cases where the foreign contractors get those contracts, but when it comes to actual implementation, they say, Robert, get out. You are supposed to get 5 billion, just have 1 billion and disappear. And that is not the intention of subcontracting that we are trying to create. We are saying build capacity, build skills, work with this contractor, foreign contractor, and learn even the best practices of implementing such big contracts. And tomorrow, if we say, like now, during COVID, we had serious lockdown, some contracts stalled because some of those which were implemented by foreign contractors, maybe they couldn't even come.
Ship equipment, be present. Yes.
So we need to develop our local domestic industry, and that is what we are doing. We have we had guidelines to that effect. Now we are transforming those guidelines into a regulation, which is more powerful than just a guideline.
But even before we leave this, Edie, help us understand, because these are issues that always come up. When you talk about the local contractor, a foreigner who comes in Uganda, sets up a company over a period of time, does he qualify to be a local contractor, or it must be an indigenous person, a Ugandan?
Now, there are two, I would say two definitions of what, or two ingredients of what we call a local contractor. The first ingredient is national, a national contractor. A national contractor is a Ugandan, wholly owned by Ugandans. But also we have, the second ingredient is a resident contractor. A resident is one who has been here in Uganda for a long time. And we have them. You see Indians here, they have been here for a long time. And they are employing Ugandans, they are paying our taxes, they are using utilities of this country. So those become resident contractors. So when I'm talking about local contractors, I'm talking about both national and resident. And they are benefited, especially those who are in manufacturing industry. Most of them are residents. If you go to Nyonyintono, for example, those are resident contractors. Those goods manufactured here, that are purchased or procured by government, we are saying they should have priority. And that's what we are monitoring. That reservation I was talking about, uniforms. And we have Nyonyintono, we have spine here in Nabogorovi. If the army, police, and prisons are buying, those are the ones who are the main buyers of uniforms, they have to buy from here. Because that is a resident provider. And he should benefit because he has invested in this country. So we should invest. So uniforms, medicines, and electricals, those products have been reserved. And the regulations I'm talking about, they are going to reserve more. Transformers, furniture, printing. You had a quarrel fight when we were printing the ballot papers. They are going to be printed. But when we reserve those products, then irrespective of the value, even if you are buying 100 billion, then you must buy from here. And I believe, especially now that we are talking about import substitution and promoting our domestic industry, public procurement will boost this economy. Because if 60% of the budget, we are talking about the budget, if we remove the debt payments and what, maybe 30 trillion, 60% is like 18 trillion. If it can be put back in the economy, then this economy will boost. And that's our focus.
Now, that was at the side of the contractors. We are still looking at the benefits of that is open contracting. Viewers, and of course, this is aimed at promoting accountability, but we want to see how do various stakeholders benefit through this process.
Now we are talking about increased transparency and accountability. If there is increased transparency, that means we are building confidence, especially of the providers, and participation. That is important. And when there is increased participation, then in terms of competitiveness, in terms of competition, then we deliver value for money. We derive value for money from a competitive process. Of course, you have had where the processes have gone direct. And we think where direct procurement is used without competition, then they could be inflated contract figures. But where you know that there is competition, then you have to really cost your product, your contract, your bid in a manner that you are going to deliver value for money for government. But also, this open contracting, there is improved stakeholder engagement. Because if we know that there is disclosure, then you as a citizens, you know this contract. And you can also go to this accounting officer. Accounting officers, tend to be so big. You have heard the president saying these big
goddesses,
officials of government. I'm also an accounting officer. But you have to have accessibility. A citizen should come and say, I need to have to look at this contract. And that is given. Access to information is given to anybody.
Though not given, as most of the times, even as journalists, sometimes you find it hard. Yet, this is public interest. This accounting officer then will tell the clauses of the contract that are not for public view. They are this and that.
I tell you, Robert, if you get that scenario, come to me. I will make sure that you access you are supposed to access this contract. And that is the only way we can provide oversight. Not necessarily only oversight agencies like IG, Auditor General, PPDA. No, even the civil society organization, the media should be able to provide that oversight. So that when you are, a government official knows that if I make a mistake here, people know that this contract value is, this contract is so much. And I've seen cases where you go and even measure the building. You find someone has taken like 2 feet of a whole building, and when you are going to calculate the total area, it becomes huge and costly. You should know that this contract, if they were going to roof, they were going to use this gauge of iron sheets. But you, if you observe, you say, but why did you use 30 instead of 28? So that disclosure, which we are getting through open contracting, the advantage to the country is that will improve the oversight. And not only by government agencies, but also by the media, the civil society organization. And we like the media because at times we pick these cases from the media. The other day I was, actually the other I picked it from UBC. You reported the school, the school in Karamoja, which of course the media at times you also exaggerate. I don't know. I've not got feedback from my team in Mbari. I told them go to Moroto and find out, because they were saying this seed school was abandoned 3 years ago and is used as a cow's crown. So no teachers, no desks, cows are entering there. So I picked that already. And I've already sent a team to go and see what is happening. And the cow should explain. Or the Minister of Education. Why is it like that? So the oversight, open contracting will improve oversight. And through this open contracting, we also have what we call open contracting data standard. That is put in a manner that will improve even use of this data, because it is in that standard that can be even internationally. Actually, this open contracting is not only a PPD or a Ugandan issue, but even internationally, that disclosure is important for purposes of improving monitoring contracts.
You've already talked about purposes, but I have this question. I don't know how best we can improve this. Most of the times, I see a lot of post-mortem. That most of these things come out when damage has already been done. Where in open contracting can we avert or stop this or prevent it?
At implementation. At implementation, because you see, that is the most important part of contract. You have seen Honorable Ogwanga now arresting.
Has become a king of postmortem.
Yeah, arresting people, but at times you arrest people, but have you provide service?
You even arrest people, but does that bring back what has been lost? Does that change the damage?
So we are actually strengthening what we call contract monitoring. And the law, the PPD Act also gave us powers in contract audits. Contract audits is reviewing the contract implementation, during implementation. First of all, when a contract is signed, there are terms and conditions. And what you need to, during execution of the contract, what you need to focus is, are the terms and conditions of contract execution being adhered to. And if you are to do that, you must also know what the terms and conditions have been. You have had cases where they say, this road is shoddy. It's a statement, but do you know what the road was supposed to be? Some roads are supposed to be stone chipped, others are supposed to be asphalt, others are supposed to have drainage. One time there was a road in Rukonjiri, and they said, the road has been washed away in one season. When we went to review, we found actually there was a contractual shortcoming. There were no drainage. The contractor was not supposed to drainage. He was supposed to grade. And after grading, you know, even when you put malam, when the rain comes, it will wash it away. Yeah. So we advise that maybe you first do the drainages. If you don't have enough money, first do the drainage. And that is where we have to be strong. And if we are going to do it as on a PPDA, then we may not be very much effective. That's why we have to partner with everybody. We have to partner with the locals, we have to partner with civil society organizations, which are based down there. And then we solve this. But also, if you are a citizen or a media, for example, or civil society organization, you must know what you are supposed to monitor. And that is what the capacity we are building with these CSOs. When you go to a building, observe a few things. You may not be an engineer or a technical person, but you can observe a few things, and you see they are supposed to use burnt bricks, but they are using unburnt bricks. That you can see. When you touch it, it is speeding off. They are not putting enough cement. Simple things like those, and the partnership that we are building, we want to emphasize during implementation. Don't come after the fact. Come during implementation and then give us feedback so that we know. But to do that, that information must be available to you so that you know what they were supposed to do. Otherwise, you will start querying issues which are not part of the contract.
Well, Edie, in the interest of time, let me have your final remarks regarding the public there. First, in having interest in these government various projects, because today we have so many people that have failed to understand that this belongs to them, most of the ordinary citizen. A road is made, a border cyclist, there's a way they ride and they're just destroying the tarmac. Then you ask, what on earth is happening? Someone feels agitated, or most time politicians, and people are burning the very road that they have just done. They are destroying the same properties. So what are your final remarks regarding that is open contracting?
We should appreciate the government projects, what you would call government, because we are the users of government projects. We should appreciate if it is a government vehicle or government machinery, you use it as if it is your own. Because if you are, say, this is government, then you wonder who is even using this facility. Government is not using the facility, you are the one using the facility. And it would be important that we know that every government project is intended to benefit the citizens. So we should appreciate the government effort and use these facilities sparingly and effectively. Expo. We are, again, maybe as we go to the last remarks, again, in terms of exposure or disclosure, the PPDA is organizing an expo, a procurement expo, business expo 2022, together with FIPLO, who is our private partner. Because we also encourage partnering, government entities partnering with private, so that also we boost their capacity. We also support them in terms of the partnership. At times, government, when you are organizing something, you want to benefit from the private sector competencies. This expo will bring together the business community and also the procuring entities, so that we expose, we display the opportunities that are there from government to the business community, and also the business community should demonstrate what they have, what they can do with government. But more importantly, what I mentioned from in the course of the discussion, that we are changing from manual system, the procurement cycle is changing from the manual system to automation, the electronic government procurement system. This electronic government procurement system is going to bring more disclosure to the public and all the other stakeholders, because now if you are registered, for example, and you have to be registered as a government provider on the system, and on that day, that expo will take place at Kororo grounds, ceremonial grounds, from 8th of July to 10th of July. And we are going to be registering those even providers on the system, so that when you are registered on EGP, then you can get you can get information at the right time. If there is a bidding opportunity that has been published on the system, then you get a notification that the opportunity exists in this entity. Currently, we have 25 entities that have been put on the system, and therefore we'll be registering providers on that.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Benson Tuliame, who is the Executive Director, PPDA, that is Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, for having found time. We've been discussing open contracting system. Now, for you, fellow Ugandan, here is information being given to you to promote accountability and transparency and avoid abuse of public funds. Please take keen interest to call for this accountability, so that open contracting will be meaningful and will save us millions, billions, trillions that are usually lost because of lack of transparency. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the world of sports. See you tomorrow, God willing.